Hi, and welcome to the Thriving Entrepreneurs 15 Minutes. She's Rochelle Learling, entrepreneur coach.
He is David Foster, founder coach.
And today we're not broadcasting live. Today, Rochelle is nice enough to post a pre recorded video because it is going to be Thanksgiving in the US, and I have the day off, which means that Rochelle is going to be working, and I'm going to be sitting at home contemplating how a bunch of European refugees crashed into a rock not far from here, and that turned into Walmart, Facebook, and American football. Today's question is, how can an entrepreneur be thankful? And really, why should an entrepreneur be thankful? And we have global warming, worldwide recession, dogs and cats dancing with each other in the street, as Bill Murray said. Rochelle, why should an entrepreneur be thankful?
Wow, what an intro, by the way. Should clap for that. That was a really good one. Um, well, can we keep it to thankful for business or not? Because otherwise, I'm gonna like drift off and be thankful for life and start crying. But no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, how can entrepreneurs be thankful? Well, I think it's a fun topic in the first place because I think a lot
Yeah.
of entrepreneurs are like not thankful for where they are.
Oh,
It
agree
doesn't feel
100%.
like, yeah, it's kind of like everything is not going as I want. It's not going as fast as I want. I'm not where I should be.
Hmm.
Everything is shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that is just more or less like the default state that I see and hear with entrepreneurs. And I think Thanksgiving is a really good moment for entrepreneurs to look back and see like what is really going well. So I think my first statement would be we lose sight of progress and
Hmm.
perspective
Hmm.
once we
Hmm.
look too much in the day to day and not longer
Hmm.
at the long term vision.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that, like, not just Thanksgiving, but every day is a reason to be thankful because, well, you're aware that you're still alive. And, I think thankful is being grounded in that every situation has dark and light in it. Like, aside from birth and death, there really aren't any situations in life that aren't at least partially one or the other, right? Like it contains both. And it doesn't matter, like a lot of entrepreneurs, especially the ones that I work with, they want to prove that these are the reasons why I'm not thankful because this didn't happen or this did happen.
Right.
And he or she wanted it a different way. And it's not about that. It's not about the justification of the dark being dark. It's being able to see both sides of it. And I'll go back to a question we talked about 2 weeks ago, which is really challenging and it's really, really annoying, but it actually really helps. When you're faced with something and you find that you're not thankful, ask yourself, what's the best thing about that situation? You're getting
Yeah.
sued. You're contemplating shutting down the company, your co-founder left, your best employee quit, whatever the story is, what's the best thing about that situation? Where is the light in the darkness?
Yeah, I think that's just a beautiful way of looking at life and being thankful for whatever happens. In the end, I do believe that everything happens for us, not against us. And yeah, that also goes with business. Like so many things that happen in business, in situations that we don't want to be in, maybe came to us for a reason, to learn certain lesson. Because I do believe that business is a vehicle for personal growth.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
anything that happens, anything that we get to tackle, there must be a reason, and we all grow from it anyway.
Hmm.
And indeed, if we look into perspective of life and death, or whatever comes
Hmm.
close to that,
Hmm.
sickness, then maybe things are not as bad as it seems. And in the end, business should be somehow playful too.
Yeah. And this is not going to be a surprise to you or anybody who knows me, but I have another really annoying question.
Tell me.
And when you feel frustrated and when that frustration indicates a complete absence of being thankful, One thing that I like to ask myself, especially when I get frustrated, is if Viktor Frankl could find things that he was thankful for and find the beauty of the human spirit in a series of Nazi concentration camps, what am I missing that I'm so upset about third quarter report?
Yeah. What a great book, by the way. That's really
Yes.
one of my best books. I was just talking to an entrepreneur about this yesterday. But indeed, things are not as bad as they seem. Yeah, you can get sued. Yeah, you can really end up in some bankruptcy or financial situations you don't want to be in. But in the end, you take ownership for what happened. You take ownership for running the business as you do. And I think this goes also for the last conversation we had on acknowledging your limits,
Yeah.
being there on time instead of like letting the ego fly and
Yep.
then having to look back and feel like I should have handled this differently, and then being mad at yourself and getting into that snowball effect of not being thankful because you're not where you want to be. And I think it also is important to mention that many entrepreneurs see the front end of other entrepreneurs, like the successes, the great pictures, the awards.
Oh, that's a
But we
good
don't
point.
really get to see the back end. So do we even know what they're really working on or what they are going through?
Yeah.
It always
Yeah.
seems like we have the bad things going on and nobody else does.
Yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy in so many ways, And I think it also bears mention, it's worth bearing mention that we're hardwired to see the negative,
Yep.
and that makes us less likely to be thankful. And there's a really good, like, primal reason for that. We're walking through the woods and the sun is rising. We're going to notice the poisonous snake because that could kill us. The sunrise isn't going to kill us. So we're hardwired to see the negative. And so many founders and entrepreneurs are highly intelligent, highly motivated, very perceptive, and they get sucked into the negative. But there's a cost to not recognizing the light, not recognizing the sunrise, which actually is the real light in darkness, right? And it's so easy today to get this steady diet of negativity, like the echo chambers of social media. Yes, I realize we're on social media. But also, when you're a founder or an entrepreneur, you're really isolated. You don't have the same feedback loops. People are oftentimes reluctant to tell you the actual truth, whether it's your
Yep.
spouse, like, "Oh, I don't know if this is working," or whether it's somebody who is working for you. They sometimes don't want to challenge you or don't want to upset you. And so a really good question to ask at that point is, did I notice the sunrise?
Yeah. Yeah, I so agree. And because we're so wired for negativity, I think it's important to train ourselves for positivity. And one of the things that I do, and I teach a lot of clients too, is making sure that every end of the day, you either write down or you talk to your spouse about
That's
what am I
excellent.
thankful for?
Yes.
What am I grateful for? What did go well? Even though if there's like tons of fires to be put out, there's a lot of stress, what did go well? And it could be as small as just a really nice meal. It could be a nice conversation. It could be like just seeing somebody smile because of your interaction with them. And it could be that if we start focusing on those things, we'll find more. But
Yes.
it's pretty naive to think that entrepreneurship is just, freedom, creativity, fun, growth, success. There is like so much more crap that comes with it. And through that naivety, we fail to understand that we are going through some really hard times always. And it's never going to it will get easier and somehow, but it's all relative. And if we look at every downfall or every negative point from an angle of, again, like victimhood, why is this happening to our business once again, not to me, then we'll never see that light, even when there is success, because we're not wired to see that success in our own company.
Right. And what fires together wires together, right? And I apologize to any neuroscientists listening to this because I realize that's a gross summarization of what actually happens, but there is some truth to it. What you're saying about at the end of the day, a habit at the end of the day is very much like what we used to do at home here every night at dinner. What did you learn and what good thing happened? I think another habit to look at is this idea of evaluating fairness. Like we have this really weird
Yeah.
human conception of fairness. Like as soon as something is not fair, like think about lines in a shop. It's not fair that I joined the shortest line, but I'm here longer than the other people, right?
Right. Yeah.
But we're really bad at figuring out truly or objectively what is fair. And a
Yeah.
really good question to ask yourself there is, am I looking at this realistically?
Yep.
Like, if you find yourself not being thankful, or you're listening to this and you're like, oh yeah, these told me I should be thankful, blah 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 blah. Well, let's apply some really clear metrics and really clear understanding. Like, what's good in my life? What is good in this situation? And balance that out because it's always light and dark together.
Yeah, and without dark, we cannot see light anyway. So that
Exactly.
abstract
Exactly.
oppositeness, that's what we're seeking anyway. As entrepreneurs, as founders, as owners, whatever, we're all high performers. We want to be high performing. Ambition is on top of mind, but we also are all future oriented. And because the future is more interesting to us and more attractive to us, we dare not to think about the present because we are always seeking that next step. And apart from the bad things happening, we can even like overstep, let's say, like cross the positive happening in the now because we don't really care because we're looking forward to that future. And I think that because we are who we are as entrepreneurs, we really need to kind of almost like cater to our own personality needs. Like I
Yes.
know I'm actually super future oriented. I know that is my strong suit, but it's also the reason why I feel so not thankful today. Let me just kind of trigger that, almost like a habit. Yeah, so I really like the idea of doing that every night and doing that with kids too.
Yeah. And what you're talking about, and I know you don't have kids yet, but you can use other people's kids.
Sure.
What we're really talking about is like taking conscious control, right? Like making a decision.
Yeah.
And that idea of thoughts are things and mindset really, really matters. It doesn't change the reality, right? So when my daughter came home and somebody got the new phone and she didn't have the new phone, you can't change the reality of those phones with mindset. But you can change the you can change the decisions you make and your attitude and how you're going to operate in that environment much better. And I always come back to, you can make better decisions with different mindsets, but I always come back to it because it's true,
Yeah.
right? And so whatever habit you decide to develop, even if it's a little accountability, like if you find yourself in a negative space and you don't like it, maybe you say to one of your friends or your spouse or something like that, hey, make me answer the question every day. What good came from today? What good
Yep.
thing happened? Something like that. It doesn't take too much to develop that habit. And once you develop that habit, your mind starts looking for those things.
Yeah.
And then your stress reduces and you can make better decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're getting too close, by the way, but it all comes with
Oh, yes.
perspective of knowing what is light, what is dark, but also seeing that there's a homeless person on the street having complete different issues and having
Yeah.
harder time than you have with your
Yeah,
co-founder,
yeah,
your
yeah,
team, whatever.
yeah.
It is all relative, but I think because we are trained to be in that negative mode and critical of ourselves and not being where we want to be, we need to define that perspective and just also know what we're working towards. Like, what is that one thing I want to achieve? Where do I want to be? But also, how do I want to feel when I get there? And if
Yeah.
we have that top of mind, then everything kind of feels relative in a good sense. Like, hey, I'm coming closer to that perspective. I'm getting there because I'm actually
Yeah.
learning along the way. And it should be
Yeah.
almost gamified. If you don't have that perspective, like literally having that on paper, like this is the vision I'm working towards, then yeah, I bet it's going to be really hard to see the good in the bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with that. And my closing thought is ask ask the questions we talked about, and maybe also ask yourself, what's the story that I'm telling myself? Thank you guys for listening. Please disregard the live thing up in the corner that we can see. This is going to be broadcast on Thanksgiving Day in America.